So this is the example we will attempt in this video. So here is a part of a transmission tower. We'll only be modeling the corner profiles only in this case. And let's see what the requirements are. The requirements are that the transmission tower will be 5 meters by 5 meters at the base. So we can see that dimension over here. It's basically this dimension. And it tapers down to 3 by 3, 3000 by 3000 at the top level. And the top level is at an elevation of 10 meters. Now, the tricky part over here is that these corner profiles are spliced at an elevation of 6000. So we'll go up, and at some point where the elevation is 6000, the length of the pipe will be a little more than that because it's inclined. But at a vertical elevation of 6000, we want the pipe to be spliced. And the profile is given, CHS 139.7 into 6. The material is given. We want the beam group to be eventually a column. We'll see why I said eventually. And that's basically it. So how would we go about doing such a thing? So let's go to our model. Let's say we have a new model. And we remember the base was 5 by 5. So I'll just quickly change the grid dimensions to 5 by 5 just to get a easier place to work with. And the height was 10 meters, right? Now, there are many ways to do this. One way would be that you enter a beam. Now, I'm not going to use the column command, although the assignment wants us to use columns, but because it's inclined, it's better to first use the beam command and then eventually turn it into a column. So I'll use the beam command, and I start off from here, and then I'm going to, because I want the top point to be at the distances will be 3 by 3, and this total is 5. So that would mean it would be 1 meter in the x and y directions from this point and 10 meters above this point. So what I can do is I can click on enter over here, say at 1000, 1000, 10,000. And in this way, I can get my first section inside. Now, I can double click on this and bring these to middle, so that it's better for a pipe profile. And I can go inside and instead of the IB, I can choose the CHS 139 by 6. I think this was the requirement. We can just say select and say OK. So we have the first profile. Now it's always a good idea to, and once I've gotten it, I can just double click on it and change the beam group to column because that's the requirement. So we have now a column which goes all the way up. Now you can copy it around or mirror it or move it around. One way, it's always preferable to minimize the total clicks to actually finish what you're doing and then start copying it. So what do we want? We want, let's go back to the file. We want a splice point at an elevation of 10 meters. So we don't know where that, we don't have this point in the model. How can we create that point? We want to point somewhere over here, which is along this line, but it is on the plane, on the 6 meter plane. So the one way to do that could be if you go to the edit menu and go to your point commands and go to your line plane intersection commands. As you know, these will allow us to create intersections between lines and planes. So what I can do is I can click on the command and I can define a plane which is 6 meters above this plane. So how do I do that? I can hover over this point and say DZ 6000, and then hover over this point and say DZ 6000, and hover over that point and say DZ 6000. And now that plane is defined, which is 6 meters above the base plane. And now it's asking me for the line, and as the line, I can show the start point over here and the end point over here, or I can turn on these nodes so that I'm sure what I'm clicking on. Now, when I do that, immediately a point will be created. To see it, actually, we need to turn the points on. Yeah. So let me delete these points. So we see that this point has been created. Now, if I double click on this point, you will see that its elevation is 6,000. And that's exactly what I wanted. Of course, we haven't broken the pipe yet. But to do that, all we need to do is select the pipe, right click, and go to the frame editing and say break frame. And then we can just show this point, and the frame will be broken, and it will be exactly at the level of 6,000. And once I'm happy with that, I can just select these two frames. I can just say copy mirror from here to here, let's say along this one, and I can just say run, and those two are there now. And then once I have those two, I can select them again and say copy mirror in the other direction, like that. And there we have it. So very quickly, very easily, we were able to create this transmission tower corner columns. And the preferred way was that you enter one, you splice it at the required point, and then you do your copying. And to splice it, to create that point, we used the line plane intersection by 3 points. Another requirement was that it should all be middle, which we did before we copied them. So out of plane and in plane offsets for middle. And another requirement was that all material would be S235. So we can go in, select everything, click on this, double click on this, open up the dialog box for all of them, select the material as S235, click on OK, yes, and basically now it's done.